Okay, so this is going to walk you through how to use the starter project for the blend materials. So I'm just going to go through this live and record it, and hopefully it will give you a good idea of how to use everything and how it works and how you can make the most out of it. Okay, so this is what you've got. You open up, extract the zip file. You have the project here. If we open it up, it will take a few moments. It is 4.26. By the way, so you'll need to open it up in 4.26 of Unreal, but you'll open it up straight away. You'll come into this Untitled level. If we come to the content folder, click on the starter project level, you see all of the elements that we've looked at before, materials here. So we've got the landscape material applied to the landscape here, so the material instance. And we've got the cube. We've got the material instance here. Where is it? There we go. So the object blend. If we look in materials, we can see the two of them here. So these are the things that we need to think about. We've got the object blend, which goes on our static meshes, such as this cube here, and then terrain, which goes on landscape actors. Now you can see there's quite a number of parameters that we can control here. We've got some specular and roughness controls, and we've got some albedo controls here. But then we've also got a base layer, so we've got options to add maps. We've got some tints and some contrast colors and some brightness controls as well. And we've got some normal strength and rotation angles and stuff as well. So we can play around with some settings there. We've got middle layer options and top layer. So we need to start to think about the textures. Now I've spoken about choosing textures that merge well, that blend well, that you've got a harmonious look across all of them. Now, obviously, it depends upon what you're actually trying to achieve. But in the context that I'm looking at, say, sand, and we're looking at between sand, gravel, and rock, and blending in an appropriate way between these different assets. And we want that to look like they've all come from the same place, and that all these assets exist in the same place. So the way I'm going to do that is generally I use a product called Mixer, which is made by Quixel, which has been taken over by Epic Games, the people who make Unreal. So it's basically free. So I've just fired it up. It's Quixel Mixer. And as I say, it's free, and you can use all of the mega scans free for the for any sort of projects within Unreal. So let me just create a new mix. I'll call this starter projects. There we go. Starter project. I'm going to work at 2K. Now, there's you can work at any resolution you like, but obviously it's going to slow down the computer if you're working at 8K, unless you've got a great beast of a computer. Keep it to 2K. You might even want to go smaller, depending upon what you've got. You can change and export at any size later. That's not a problem. This is just your working resolution, how it looks in the viewport. I'm going to go 2K. It suits the sort of the setup that I've got here. So I'll click on OK, and that will take me straight through to my viewport. We've got some controls up here: local library, online library, so access to the Megascans library. And then we've got these options here. So we've got layers, our setup for what we're looking at, display options, performance, and export. We're just going to be looking at the layers really, and the export for here. One thing I do want to mention is this lighting conditions. I would suggest can't really see too much difference at the moment. If I go to the local library, and I can choose a load of stuff online, but it will take me a while to download it. I've already downloaded a number, so I'll go to my local library, and look, I've got a number of assets here. I've got this, which we'll look at, this 3D asset, but I've also got these surfaces, a whole range of them that I've previously downloaded. Now, as I wanted to talk about blending these assets, I'm going to take some quite diverse ones. We've got this Icelandic sand with pebbles. We've got this rocky ground, and we've also got this rocky ground here, two different types of rocky ground. Now look, the colours are very different. We've got a black look here, we've got a reddish brown here, and then we've got a sandy colour. They're from completely different environments: sandstone, Arizona desert, and Iceland. But we want to sort of put them together so that they look like they're all from the same place. So I'll show you how to do that. We'll just double click on the Iceland sand. As I say, it's in my local library because I've already downloaded it. It'll take me to the viewport, and then we can see that applied to our plane. If we look at the library, I mean, it's a 2x2 meter image, which is tileable. My setup is a 2x2 meter plane, so we can see in our viewport that tiled. Well, it would tile if it went across, but applied directly to the plane. Now, the reason why it's not looking, it's all looking grey is because I've got this base layer applied. So we'll switch off the visibility of that using the little eye icon here, and so now we can see the layer. You can see it's Icelandic sand. Now I will play around with some of the lighting conditions: indoors, Pisa, fluorescent lighting, studio lighting. Overcast, there's a whole range there. This is just the light that's projected on it from the HDRI, which is blurred, the ambient light around on the outside. My suggestion is you keep it all on the same one for all of your projects, just so that you get used to seeing what the materials when you download them are like, and have a good understanding of how they're going to look when you actually get them into the engine, into Unreal. So keep it on one. As I say, I choose Pisa most of the time, and it tends to work for me. I know what sort of result I'm going to get when I'm looking in this under these conditions. So that's my first one, Icelandic sand. Next one I'm going to bring in is this canyon rocky ground. And then after that, we'll bring in the rocky ground, and we'll have a look at what's going on. So we'll just double click on those, and that brings them in 1, 2, and 3. Now they're actually merging at the moment; they're mixing together, and we can play around with the way that they mix. But for this project, I really don't want to have them mix. I want to just be looking at them all one at a time. Yeah. Making them harmonious, making them look like they come from the same place, and then exporting out the individual textures, because I'll blend them appropriately in Unreal, so I don't need to do it in Mixer. They're not going into any other circumstance. I can do that quite adequately in Unreal. So here are my textures. Now, as I say, I want the same sort of tone across all of them, the same color. Now, the way we do that is down here. We've got an albedo switch. I'm just going to click here, albedo, and I'm going to set a manual value, A97, A54. I just know that in my sleep now, and that gives me a nice bright sand type look. You can see how it looks in different conditions. Yeah. Back to Pisa. Okay, so I'll do the same. Switch that off. Switch on the canyon. Yeah. Now we'll add on that one A97, A54. Apply that one. Rocky ground. Let's have a look at that. We'll do the same. A97, A54. Apply and okay. So now they've all generally got the same base color. Now if I wanted to make any sort of initial tints and slight adjustments, maybe from the rock to the rocky ground, all of that sort of stuff can be done later in Unreal. That's not too much of a problem. I just want to get them mixing appropriately at the moment. So we got sand, which is our bottom, our base layer, then we got middle, and then we got top. Okay, so with that done, now I need to export them. So I'll swap over to export. I'm going to give this one, we'll call this one Pebbles, or Sand with Pebbles. What I will do is I'll put a T beneath it, sand, or in front of it, sorry. Sand with Pebbles. And then we'll export it to a user's Peter Desktop textures folder in a subfolder based on that name. And I'll add the resolution to it. You can if you wish, you don't have to have that. Custom format, we'll keep it as PNG, and then we'll do it at 2K. Now, the maps that I actually need, if we go back into Unreal and we have a look at the terrain instance, base layer, yeah, we've got albedo we want, ambient occlusion, AO, yeah, normal, yeah, and roughness. So it's albedo, AO, normal, and roughness. So the four images, the four textures we need for this. So on export, I'm going to keep albedo checked. Diffuse we don't need. Specular we don't need. So I'm unchecking those. Roughness I need. Normal I need. Displacement I don't need. AO I do need. So I'll keep that, and then I'll click on export maps, bang, and that will export them out. Now, I'm not going to do it right now because I've already done it. I did it earlier. And if I open up the folder, you can see them here. We've got rocks, yeah, sand with pebbles, yeah. So there's export in the four and rocky ground. So what I've done is I've exported that, bing, and then I've gone back to layers. I've undone that, put that on, gone into export, change the name, that one I'm looking at, Canyon Rocky Ground. Just call that Rocky Ground. Got to change the name or else it'll overwrite the ones. Canyon Rocky Ground, yeah, and then click on export and do the same for the next one, and away you go. So that's how that works. But let me also have a look at this next thing. The last thing we can do is, obviously we want to blend with some assets. So let's double click on that and load that up. It will say we don't need a 2 meter by 2 meter plane. We actually want to load the 3D asset now. So we'll do that. And we've got the asset coming in, and this works in exactly the same way. Into layer, yeah, we've got the canyon sandstone. We don't need to see that. Into the canyon, open that up, yeah, A97, A54, apply, and now we've got the same sort of hue for our asset. Obviously, we've got bright lights, overcast. You can have a look at the different lighting conditions and see what it looks like. But yeah, as I say, I suggest you keep it all on the same, just so that you get a consistent look. There, okay, with the canyon sandstone, exactly the same. Make sure that the right ones are selected. They should remember the settings, and then export. And as you can see, that's what we've got here. Canyon sandstone rock, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I've also got the actual model itself. The way that you can locate those is after you download it, you'll find it in the library. If you right click, show in Explorer, it will pop up with all of the files that you've got associated with that, and then I've just taken the LOD 0, the most detailed one, and copied that into my textures, my working folder, because I don't want to keep the library intact. And I've just made a copy of it and brought it over. So once you've downloaded everything, or you've basically harmonized the assets in that way, which works for the project that I'm working on, then we'll head back into Unreal and then start to import all of those textures. So in the materials folder, I'll create a subfolder here. We'll call it textures. And then I'll open it up, and then I'll create 3 folders in that. One called sand, one called, I'm just doing this quickly, so I'm going to call this gravel, which is the sort of rocky, and then next one I'll call this rock, just so that I know what they're at. I'm going to then also, actually let's import those now. So gravel, import to game. We want to have a look on my desktop, textures. So we'll work in this folder. I'm doing gravel, which was the rocky ground. So I'll just select all 4 of those, open. So I'll save that. Next, I'll just pop over to sand and import to game. We'll do sand with pebbles. Okay, that'll bring those in. Then materials, going to go to, what's the last one? Rock. Import. Sand, rocks. Open. There you go. Right, so that's all in. We'll save all of those. So we got rock, gravel, sand. Awesome. I'll go back to the root folder. Now we're going to create a new folder. I'll call this assets. Don't want to move it. Okay, a new folder in that. I'll call it sandstone rock. Which is great. We'll click on that. Import to game. And then textures, sandstone rock. We'll import everything, including the mesh. That'll bring that in. Mesh, don't want to create any materials. Import all, and there we go. So we've got the mesh, which I'll drag in here. I'm just going to scale that up a bit, just so we can see a little bit. Lock that. Scale it up to size 2. Make it movable. So we've got dynamic lighting, and save all of that. Okay, so terrain. Now I need to, we've got a terrain material on here, and if we look at it, landscape, paint, yeah, we could paint different layers, but obviously we just got the default grey in there at the moment because we haven't plugged anything in here. So I'll just detach that very quickly, and then we'll start to add in our materials. So we've got material here, textures. First layer, the base layer is going to be our sand. So I've checked all of those. So I'm just going to literally drag them in. We can already see that taking shape here. If you see, we've got, just bring that right down. So we've got that texture applied here. Here we've still got the grey. This is where I've already tested the painting. AO, we'll put that in. Normal, we'll put that in. Look, we've suddenly got a bit more relief information there. And roughness, it will respond to the light differently. So we've got that one there. That's good. So that's base layer. Middle layer, we want that to be our gravel. Slightly. Oh, before we do that, I need to enable those. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we'll put that there. That there, AO there. Normal there. Roughness there. Good. And then we'll save that. And then top layer. Gravel, rock, albedo, AO, normal, roughness. Albedo, AO, normal, and roughness. Okay, so we get that all done. Now, as I've played around with this before, you can see they're actually quite big. The scaling here, just going to adjust the scaling. So we'll turn that down to 200 across everything. We can still see it tiling, but that's why we're going to blend. We're going to try and get rid of that by painting and breaking it up, disrupting it using different textures. Now we've done that, I'll just put that up there and save it. Like so. So that's very straightforward. We can just click on each individual layer and paint the different textures. So we've got texture here. Now look, that seems to be going in. Yeah, that seems okay. But this middle layer, yeah, the normal seems to be going the wrong way. So I mean that's fairly common and really easy to fix. On our middle layer, I'm just going to undock that. We open that up. We've got a switch here. We drop that down called flip green channel. And if you do that, you can see your your normal maps will swap around the other way. So just be aware of that, and you may have to flip the channel depending upon what the parameters of the textures. Okay, so we can paint away, and that's nice. The more time you spend doing that, the more you actually sculpt a landscape and do that properly, the better. But I would spend time putting the strength of the tool right down, and your main objective, really, don't forget, is to break up the tiling and sort of give a bit of relief and a bit of realism to everything that you can hear. Obviously, this is just a completely flat plane, so it's difficult to make it look good, but this is just a demonstration to show you how everything works. But anyway, right, so we've got that. Next thing to do is to start thinking about this object here, and we want to blend this in to the landscape. So for here, we've got we don't want the world grid material we've got here. We want to apply our object blend, so I'll just click and drag and drop that on there. If we open it up, we can see, I'll dock that up here, we've got exactly the same. Now I know that my tiling, I set that all to 200, 200, 200, 200, and then I'm going to enable these so I can dump the maps in. Right, let's undock that and do exactly the same as we've just done, and we'll get some maps in there. So textures, well, first one is going to be the sand, so normal and roughness. Middle layer is going to be the gravel. So we're going in a logical order here, where we can go albedo, we can go AO, we can go normal, and then we can go roughness, and then next go to rock. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we've applied all of those textures. Now down at, we've got these global parameters. I'm not going to worry about those at the moment, but I've also got these object properties here, which this is where we link into the textures from the the asset itself. So objects, we'll put those in. Okay, now as soon as we put that in, we can see that the textures are starting to appear on our asset. Okay, AO, normal. Okay, so the normal going to make a huge difference, and here default. Now it's always worth again rotating your object, just obviously where you place it and the way it responds to, or how it looks in the light is pretty important. I'm going to have the sun behind me, traditional feed, just so that I'm testing this, and that's the bit I want to blend. So we'll put it appropriately, like here. Now look, it's dodgy, the sort of the seam through that. That's what we need to work on. So make sure we save everything. Okay, so everything's in there as it should be. Good. Now, what we need to do, now we've set it up, we've got our object, and then we've got our 3 layers. So we've got 4 layers within this material. So I want to go into mesh paint, because we're going to start painting the mesh. I'm going to weight paint, clicking on the tab here, click on the paint icon. Now we've got 4 textures, so RGB and alpha. So it's A RGB. So we've got texture 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now, if I set texture 1 and click on fill, it should fill everything with texture 1. So texture 1, is our object layer. Texture 2, rock. 3, fill, gravel. 4, fill. 4, fill is our sand, our base layer. So it's actually working in reverse order. Okay, but even look, just fill in the whole thing with our sand texture. Yeah, we can see that it's beginning to, well, this is the gravel, but if we take, that's the sand. If I go into landscape now, modes, paint, base, paint there, we can see that it is beginning to seamlessly, and we're going to select, move backwards and forwards. We'll select that. Look at that. The texture's moving with the objects. Now, it's fine here. You know, I mean, what you do need to be aware of is positioning them appropriately so that you get no sharp changes in normal angle. There are other ways that we can handle this, but this is like the start, first step in the process, because we can dither and distance field blend and other types of things. You know, I think runtime virtual textures and all this type of stuff. But for here, we're just going to do it this way. But that's you know the sand all painted in. But we want to we don't want to do that. We want to have the weights paint. We want to have our full textures. That's fine. Our base texture, yeah, our object. We want to have this rock coming out of the thing, and we want to paint, you know, a particular texture around here, around the bottom, so that we can feed into this area nicely. Okay, so slowly. Not very strong, loads of fall offs, a soft brush, yeah, slowly painting a transition between these different surfaces. And ultimately the objective, yeah, if we're looking where's the sun, you know, into the sun, is getting rid of that seam, yeah, softening that down very much so it looks good. Yeah, here, softening that all down. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So, you know, that's that part there. Let's say we wanted to move it further down, and we wanted to put that right into there and have it coming out of the ground, as it were. You know, we've got this. Let's actually just do a bit more. Yeah, we've got a hard line there. You know, we don't need that. Let's put it over there. We don't need that, so we're going to mesh paint and paint weights. Yeah. Texture 4. Okay, we'll slowly merge this, yeah, into the ground like so. Okay, and then we get rid of the seams. So that's basically what we can do. Obviously, you know, it really does become important as to what assets you're going to use and what assets you're going to choose and how you harmonize them. You know, one thing I will just show you over here, you know, we've got these different textures. Now, let's say rock, for example. I thought, I want the rock to stand out a little bit more. I can double click, come to my, I'll do it on the terrain blend because that's what we're looking at here. On the rock layer, base layer, middle layer, top layer, I can enable a tint. Yeah, so I'll check the checkbox there and then start to play around with some of the colors. Yeah, and just change and adapt and mold something, you know, making it a bit different, just subtly different for me to you know, sort of get the effect that I want if necessary. So I would start with them all even. Yeah, start with them all the same, and then you can use this method, this sort of runtime, you know, real-time way of just slowly tinting things very slightly. Yeah. Playing around with brightness, contrast. Yeah, so there's options there within the material for you to play around. One of the things you might want to look at is normal strength. Yeah, just to enhance some of the detail here, you know, which you may want to do. Again, it's there to be played around with. Again, saturation. or desaturate it. Okay, so as I say, I would harmonize everything, bring everything together in Mixer, and then play around, then paint, and then make sort of adjustments as you go, blending into your assets. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is think about using the foliage spawners and thinking about how we can create rocks that blend and other things that we can procedurally distribute around a landscape. And that'll be the next thing we look at. So I hope that was interesting. Download the starter project from Classroom, and any questions, please give me a shout.